Square One DSM is an initiative of the Greater Des Moines Partnership that mentors, connects, and enhances the potential for success for entrepreneurs in Greater Des Moines.
We're going to do something a little bit. Katie and I are going to get up from the and play a video for you that talks just a little bit about what HomeDitty is. We'll start with that, and then we'll get to it.
HomeDitty is an online database that connects musicians with people who want to host live music in their homes. Me and my brother, we play in a band called the Cerny Brothers, and we've done multiple house concerts throughout the country through HomeDitty, and it's just been an awesome experience.
It's a kind of performance you don't get anywhere else. It strips away everything between you and the performer. There's no mic, there's no stage, there are no other people milling around talking, glasses clanking, stuff like that. It's just, they're right there in front of you, just, bearing their soul, and it's great.
Like I said, some people golf, some people hunt, and we go to live music. And the opportunity to bring in a group like the Cerny Brothers and have the opportunity to bring friends in and enjoy it in a very intimate setting, where you get to learn about the music, you get to see it in a very unpolished fashion, and the stories behind it. And I thought it was a great opportunity and loved the evening.
You could just tell everyone was really enjoying themselves, and it was just such a great feeling to know that you were part of that and that you helped to make that happen.
It was just a really cool way, again, to see the country as well, to experience people in their most intimate settings. And, you'd be in a family's life for a night, possibly, the next morning, and then you'd be off again.
I think one of the coolest things about playing a house concert is considering our world where there's so much noise going on and there's so many different things you can pay attention to and listen to. It's really hard to get an opportunity to be able to just play in front of someone with no distractions. And I think that as an artist, all you can really ask for is someone's initial attention. You ask for someone to give you a chance to play your song for them, to connect with them in some way. And if someone gives you their attention in a format like that, it's a great opportunity.
You see artists and you know that they're there, but really to hear what their life is like, and while you're trying to make it to where you're going, where are you going and how do you get there? And it's just really fun to hear you guys' personal stories too.
And if you're one of those people who wants to have live music in their homes, you can easily sign up on HomeDitty.com and be a part of this awesome experience.
Please give a nice background. We don't normally do this for your special. So what did that cost you to have made? That's a pretty fancy video.
That's a great story. So the Cerny Brothers, they've really been just champions for HomeDitty, and that video didn't cost me a penny. They did that entirely for free for HomeDitty as a thank you for all of the work, all the great gigs that HomeDitty has gotten them. And Scott Cerny, one of the brothers in the band, his educational background is not only in music but in cinematography, and so they actually shot a documentary about their first house concert tour that they ever did. They did a 3-week tour through HomeDitty, shot a documentary about that experience, and the documentary is not available publicly yet. They're sort of pitching it to some film festivals, but he took snippets from that documentary and then made that promo video for us.
The table rocks. This is a trick here. The whole one is too scary to death.
Yeah, right.
You lean out and tilts.
Yeah, so and the interesting thing about that tour that they did, they at that point, they had a record deal with a record label. They made a record, and they were very happy with the process of making the record. They were happy with the end result, but in their words, they didn't feel like the record label did anything with it. They made a great record and it just sat there, and so they were kind of frustrated. So they ended up actually, I guess, breaking up with their record label, dumping the record label, and just totally going indie. And so they wanted to make an album, but they didn't have the financial, their next album with the financial means to do so because they didn't have a record label behind them any longer. And so they did this tour, this HomeDitty tour, and they were able to raise $15,000 in just those 3 weeks just doing house concerts. The house concert money, plus of course they sold merchandise at the show, and they were able to make their next album just from that. So
if you haven't been to one of these house concerts, I'd never been to a house concert, I'd never heard of a house concert, I didn't know what it was. And I was at their house for the first time and got to experience this, and it is very interesting in that it is so not like a concert. If you think of a traditional concert that you go to, whether it's a big arena show or even if you go out to a social club in the basement, there's 300 or 400 people tripping over each other and moving around. They call it a listening concert. It's quite interesting. You're still in beta. We'll get into kind of some of the details, but you're still in beta. I mean, I don't know very many startups that got somebody make a documentary about their life around your software. That's kind of big time.
I know, how lucky am I? And in addition, if they get accepted, of course, to a film festival or a really well-known film festival, that's going to be pretty exciting because they have right in the documentary at the point when they break up with their record label and they decide to do this house concert tour. It shows, credit card balance, $2,000, and then checking account balance, $6. And then fast forward a little bit, it shows them doing the shows, and it says, now, they had $15,000. It tells exactly how much they raised, and talks about them playing, how we first got connected is they played a house concert in our home, my husband and I, and how it all kind of went from there. So it's very exciting.
So let's back up a little bit. How did you, what made you get into house concerts? How did you find out about house concerts? How did that get started? Because this is around the concept of a house concert. You have both the bands and the people that host, so you have kind of a two-sided model, but how did this happen? How'd you get there?
Yeah, so I was actually asked from a friend who was, sees my music a lot and was well connected in the music community, and some musicians were coming to Des Moines for a show at one of the venues here, and they were looking for an additional gig while they were in town, and so they had asked this mutual friend, hey, do you know anyone in Des Moines who does house concerts? And so my friend asked me, hey, would you be willing to host a house concert? And I did not want to appear uncool, so I actually had to Google how to host a house concert. Because, I could conceptualize what it was, but I had no idea, how the money worked. Does that mean I'm paying for the band? How does this work? What am I agreeing to? So I did
dive myself into.
Right, before I answer. And so I did a little research, and I just thought it was such a cool concept, and I was like, I'm absolutely doing this. So,
and it's old school, and this goes way back.
Totally old school. House concerts have been around for hundreds of years. That's how musicians initially made their living. We didn't go to a venue model until later. If you think about chamber music, that's where it came from. It came from the home, it came from the chamber. Strolling minstrels would go from home to home performing live for the homeowner and their guests, and they would take off their hat, pass their hat, people would throw money in, and that's how they made a living. So this is, house concerts in and of itself is not a new concept. What's new about HomeDitty is using technology to take sort of that old concept and use the tools that we now have in technology to make it easier and make it something that is going to come back and to be a part of mainstream culture.
So when you started this, did you know you're going to have to become an expert on credit card clearing, payment, transaction processing, etc.? Did you know this was where you were headed?
I had a feeling because I knew I didn't want to do pass the hat model at the door. Who carries cash anymore? I don't know about you guys, but I never carry cash. So anytime you do pass the hat always ends up short. And it kind of puts the host in an uncomfortable position to be like, okay, who did we give? So I really wanted to take that whole aspect of house concerts and just remove it and have it dealt with in advance of the show for the most part. And it's interesting.
So why do bands care? I mean, I get why I might want to have a concert in my home, and it is something, it is fun. You've never done one of these, you got to find a way to do one. Get invited to one of these, are amazing. Again, I've not heard music that way. I've sat as close as 4 feet from a musician, and they're actually interacting with you. They're not just playing, they're talking and telling stories. It's a lot of fun. But why do bands care? I mean, what is the problem you're solving for the band?
Yeah, so when you look at the music industry, there's the top tier of the music industry. You know, people who can fill the Wells Fargo Arena and people you hear on the radio. I'm not really talking about them. Like 91% of the music industry are undiscovered artists, so to speak. So there's this huge depth of talent in musicians who are trying to earn a living as a musician. And as they tour across the country, there are inevitably empty days on their tour. Obviously, the big nights for bands are Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Well, when you're driving across country, that leaves a whole bunch of empty nights that you're essentially losing money and or it's costing you money to be on tour. So the beauty of house concerts is that it helps musicians fill in those gaps on those tour dates. Why not make some money on a Monday night instead of losing money? In addition, you're really connecting on a very deep and personal level with fans and creating new fans. The model for touring has always been you sort of tour across country and you're trying to get into new markets. But the problem is if you're not known in that market, odds are you're probably not going to make much money, if any, at a show. Because who's going to come out and see them on a Tuesday night at 10:30 if they've never heard of the band? So house concerts are a really great way to grow your fan base at a grassroots type level and to make some really good money.
So take us through the process. If I'm new to this and I want to do a house concert, kind of take everybody through the process of what do you have to do to get the first concert going?
Yeah.
How does it work?
So the first thing you need to do is go to HomeDitty and sign up and create a host profile. It's very painless. Our fabulous software engineers at Entrepreneurial Technologies have made that very simple process. But yeah, you just basically create a profile. It takes 5 minutes. You can add as much or as little information as you want. If you want to throw up a photo of where the concert space would be, great. You don't have to. You sign up, you create a profile, then you can scroll through, look through the musicians, their profiles that are on the site, watch video, if you don't know the musician, watch a video of them, read their bio, look at photos, and get a sense of a musician that excites you and that you'd like to host. There's a contact button on the musician's profile. You just click on the contact button, you send them a message, and it's as simple as saying, hey, I'm in Des Moines, I'd love to host you for a house concert sometime, and you sort of talk about the details, see if it's a fit or not, and then there's a simple online booking tool. Once you're ready to book the show, the offer comes from the host, and you just click a button that says book our show. And it's really just a form you fill out with the dates and the terms. And then for payment, you have, as a host, you have 2 choices. You can either ask the artist for a flat fee and just pay for the entire experience yourself, or you can crowdfund the cost of the musician in advance of the show. For example, $20 a person, that's usually sort of the fairly standard rate, but I personally done shows that are as high as $50. So you book the show, and the software will create a private event page and an invitation that you send electronically to all of your guests, sort of like an e-vite. So when they receive the e-vite, there will be a link with a password that they click on. It takes them to the event page where they can find out all kinds of information about the artist, if this is something that they want to attend. And then when they RSVP, then they're taken to a checkout page to contribute to the crowdfund. And they also have the option of throwing in extra money if they're feeling extra generous. And I'm pleasantly surprised the number of times that people actually do that.
Yep.
Throw in a little
I think
extra money.
your people have been around a few times. concert. I know we did one time.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice to see that. So basically, as your host, then the biggest duty is getting people there, gathering your friends. Everything about a house concert is communal. Everyone brings their own beverages. You're not responsible as a host to provide food and drinks. Everybody brings their own. Of course, if you want to, that's up to you as a host. But then if you do food, it's potluck style. You can do everybody bring a dish and actually have kind of a meal before or after the show with the musician. We usually just kind of do snack food. Everybody kind of brings a little something. And then the night of the show, everyone gathers. Usually we do either a half hour to an hour kind of social hour before the show. Everyone socializes and meets one another. They all have some sort of connection to the host and hostess, but not necessarily to each other. So you socialize. It's kind of a big potluck. Meet the musicians, kind of chat with them, and then when it's time for the show, everyone is asked to sit down, is asked to silence your phone, and is asked to really not have any conversations during the performance, which is a little weird for people. They're not used to hearing music and that type of setting, but that's really what makes it such an incredible experience.
So how do you make money?
How do we make money? So it's free as a host to create a profile. It's free for the host to use all of the tools on the software. It's free for musicians to create a profile and use the software. On the back end, once the show is booked and the crowdfund contributions go to the musician, 10% is taken off the top from our credit card processor and is sent to my business, HomeDitty.
So you launched in February?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we are in October, so about 8 months.
Yes.
And I saw something that posted, how many concerts have been held?
Over 60.
Okay. And how many hosts have signed up?
273.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many bands are out there?
Right around 40 to 42. Yeah. I'm not publicly open to artists yet because I'm trying to use beta testing to really learn more about my users and figure out the right balance between how many hosts do I need to support each artist and how are artists using the site. And it's been interesting because so many artists use it in a different way. Some are using it some musicians just put up a profile and then just sit back and just wait for a host to contact them. Some musicians are more aggressive and will just send an introductory message to just a whole bunch of hosts and just say, hey, we're in Nashville, I just wanted to reach out and we're willing to come to Des Moines at any time. I've really been trying to figure out the right balance between having enough hosts to support the artists that are on the site.
No, that makes sense.
I wanted to say a word about the credit card processing. One thing that is unique about HomeDitty is the way we do our credit card processing. So when a guest makes a reservation for a show, we are authorizing their card at that time, but we are not charging their card at that time. So it's basically like holding your reservation with your credit card. The reason we did that, there's a couple reasons. One, I didn't want musicians getting paid before the show. And two, I didn't want HomeDitty taking possession of those funds. That's not an income for HomeDitty. Those aren't my funds. Those are musicians' funds. We're just charging an app fee on the back end. So I needed to somehow, what I really wanted was an escrow, which is what I didn't get, which is another whole story.
Yeah, we don't have another.
So I had to figure out a way to sort of allow for that time between when a guest makes a reservation and when the show actually happens. So I used, again, the crowdfunding model where it's essentially similar to a pledge in some ways. And so we authorize the card, and then once the concert occurs, and I have confirmation that the concert has occurred, then we charge the card. So again, at no point does that money come to my business or go through my bank account. We just get the 10% off the top. Everything else goes directly into the musician's merchant credit card account. So when an artist signs up on the site, they have to create a merchant credit card account with our credit card processor in order to accept crowd funds. So.
And there's a lot of legality. I mean, and by the way, your background is?
Yes, yes. So I am an attorney by trade. I'm obviously currently not practicing. I practiced for about 6 years, and then became a stay-at-home mom at that point for a long time.
You say that. And your kids are only 4. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But there is a lot of legalities to this, because when you start, whenever you have one of these models where you're handling others' money, you're really, the responsibility level, the potential for fraud, the potential for a lawsuit, just goes through the roof. So this is way more complex than I think most people will ever give it credit. And credit to these guys for spending the time and really figuring it out. There is a hole in the way credit card systems work as it relates to crowdfunding these types of systems. It's not really, they haven't solved the problem yet, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, there are a few credit card companies that are doing what I want, but not quite exactly what I want. And the big kicker for me is that my platform is not functioning as a content provider. It's really just providing the platform and the tools for these users to connect and to use the tools. So if I shifted to what's out there currently, it would cause a shift in my business model where suddenly my musicians are now independent contractors, which is not the arena I'm in currently. I'm just providing this platform. So there are considerations like those that I'm still wrestling with all the time.
There's not a perfect place yet.
There's not a perfect place yet, but we're getting there.
I'm going to open it up for questions in a couple minutes, so please be thinking about your questions. So how many employees do you have?
One.
You? Okay.
Me.
And you're doing it somewhat full-time, I would say.
Yes, yes, definitely full-time.
So when do you launch? When do you think it's time to, I mean, you're in beta, you're not just, doors aren't wide open, I mean, everybody goes sign up, but it's not like you're marketing or,
Right.
I mean, you've done all this without really doing any marketing, this is all word of
Correct.
mouth, which is amazing.
Correct.
You can congratulate if you're doing that for all
Thank you.
word of mouth, because
Thank you.
most startups would kill for that kind of traction without having to spend any marketing. When does it go live? When is it like, okay, we're in, we're going?
At this point, the plan is, so we'll have been, I guess, in beta a year. It'll be a year in February. So I would say between February and March of 2018, I'm going to be ready to pour gasoline on the fire. I have purposefully been not pouring gasoline on the fire because, there's a lot to learn during beta testing, and I want to make sure my model is right and it's working correctly, and I want to make sure it's ready to pour gasoline on, because one of my biggest fears is, as much as I would love to be on the HomeDitty on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, right now, with just me as an employee, that might be the death knell for my business, because then that would potentially mean somebody has a bad experience if I don't have the staff, customer service or what have you to support that sort of massive amount of volume of work. So I just want to make sure we're good and ready.
So questions from the audience?
Following up on that experience, have you had any yet? Have you had dissatisfied customers on either side?
I have not. It has been nothing short of magical. It's really exciting because the host and the artist have to complete a post-show survey. It's just like 3 quick questions once the concert has occurred. And the first question is very simple. Did the host or artist fulfill the booking agreement, yes or no? We want to know. Did they fulfill the booking agreement? Did it happen? And then the last question for both the host and the artist is report back any feedback, problems, questions, concerns. And it's so exciting to get that feedback every time from a show. So.
Right.
In the video, we saw that it's the living room concert looked like a garage.
Yeah.
Is there any limitations to where and how it's set up, and then why, if there are limitations?
Thank you for asking that question.
Okay with that.
Sky's the limit. No, there really are no limitations. It's really, you're only limited on public versus private. It is important to keep your house concert a private event for music licensing purposes. The exception would be if you're in a venue that already has a music license, then you're cool. Otherwise, it needs to be kept private. It needs to be kept invitation only. The public performance of music, that is intellectual property, and I don't want any host getting in trouble for violating that. So it's important, keep it private. The other thing, you can have artists, if you want to do a public house concert, it is possible, but again, you have to either get a music license at one time for that event, or have the artist sign a one-time direct licensing of their music to you for that performance, but then that means they can only do their original music. And that goes as far as not even co-written songs. If that co-writer also didn't sign on the dotted line, then they can't do that song. So it has to be purely original music. So, but barns, we've had them in barns, we did a show on the rooftop of the Equitable building, a garage, somebody's deck, my living room, and it doesn't have to be a big space. You don't, depending on the musician, there are many, many house concerts that are very successful with 20 people. That's and most people can squeeze 20 people in their home in some fashion or another. And if you don't own a bunch of chairs, have everyone bring their own folding chair. So it can be lots of unique spaces.
You're involved?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's turned into a discussion on music licensing, but if was it a park and suddenly became public, who is the host on the hook then for? Okay.
It's considered it's on the venue. So in that situation, I don't know who would be considered the venue.
Just curious.
Yeah.
But you're better to leave it as something you have control of.
Yeah.
The video you showed at the beginning, is that on YouTube now? Where is that?
Yes, just got posted to YouTube, I think within the last day or two. Yeah, you can just...
And is it linked through your website to it?
It is. It's in the news on my website. There's at the top, the toolbar, it says in the news, I believe. You click on in the news, and there are a bunch of news articles, but then there's also a link to the video.
Yep.
When do you run into potential zoning issues?
Good question. So, zoning issues. So having a legal background, one thing I wanted to make sure of when I built this business is that I wasn't doing anything that was potentially going to get host in trouble. So zoning was definitely something I considered very heavily and looked into. The biggest thing with zoning is as long as you are having a private event, it is no different than having a Christmas party. Anybody can have a Christmas party and hire a string quartet to play in the corner. As long as you're having a private event, that host is not running a business. They are having a private party. ONDIS is providing a service for musical talent at that party to connect with musical talent. So, and another key thing about, again, the whole cash at the door versus crowdfunding, the host at no point takes possession of any funds. It is a direct connection between the guest when they make a reservation and they contribute to the crowd fund for the benefit of the artist.
And you're literally contributing to the artist, not
so
the host.
There's nothing that the host is doing, in my legal opinion, that would be considered running a business out of their home and would do anything to violate zoning or residential. You can have a Tupperware part. There's exceptions for Tupperware parties, which is kind of a musical
Is the booking agreement between the host and the band?
Exactly.
And is it
HomeDitty is not
standard,
a
or
party.
does the band have their own booking agreement, or do you provide a standard?
Yeah, so there's a built-in online booking tool. So it is, you do it through the system, and it's between, yes, the host and the band. There are situations, right now, all of the bands are just fine with that. As we grow, we will likely have some additional booking considerations for bands who their agent or the band, for whatever reason, they want to use their own booking agreement, which is fine. Right now in the system, it's really just sort of a very simple form, fill in the blank type form, details. So they would still do that through the system, and then they could go offline to execute an additional booking agreement between the two parties if needed. And that's really typically only needed when you're dealing with, some people have been going to the site to find musicians for a wedding coming up or something like that. In that situation, then yeah, it's probably needed to, once it's sort of confirmed through the software, through the site, to jump offline then and do that extra agreement.
Are there minimum insurance liability requirements for the host for liability purposes? So minimum standards?
Good question. No, it's again, it's just anytime you have these are your invited guests into your home, that the liability isn't any different than any time you invite people over to the home. Again, you need to make sure they're invited guests. Do not be publishing your address publicly.
In the case when a show is crowdfunded, is the agreement with the artist, is there a guaranteed minimum? Do the artists, in case if it's not the artists, know what their potential is to make before the show? And then a follow-up to that, what if in the case where after the show, a credit card doesn't go through?
Yeah, all good questions. All good questions, yes. So right now the way it is set up, the musician sets a goal for the crowdfund. And that's really, at this point, it's a goal. That's to let the host know, hey, this is what my expectations are. And if that does not match the host's expectations, if they don't think they can even come close to that goal, then then perhaps that's not a fit. Then those two shouldn't be doing a show together. Or the host says, hey, I really think, let's say the goal is $600. So the artist says, okay, so can you gather 30 people at $20 a piece? And if the host says, yeah, no, I don't think 30 people. I don't even have the capacity for that in my living room. I could do 20 people. Well, then they could shift the goal of the crowdfund, and it could be 20 people at $30 a piece. So you can adjust sort of the price. And then if the host is like, well, I don't really think I've got 20 friends who will throw in $30, then guess what? Don't book that show. That's not a match. So it's really meant to be sort of this open communication. Right now in the system, we don't have built into the system guaranteed minimums. So right now, the musicians are agreeing to play whether or not they hit that goal.
And for a lot of those musicians, though, they're playing in clubs and places where there's no minimum, there's no guarantees.
They're getting
These aren't people that
lower.
yeah, they're not getting much.
Yeah.
So it's not outside their expectation. Maybe.
No. So for a first time, someone who's hosting for the first time, an artist is sort of taking a leap of faith that, they can come up with that. Hosts are not required at this point to make up the difference. It's a nice gesture if you fall really short, for these musicians that you would be so moved to do so, but you're not required. Down the road, we will be implementing guaranteed minimums. I really wanted to focus on people accepting this idea. For some people, the idea of having musicians in your home is such a far stretch of the imagination that I didn't want to put any sort of hurdles in place for like, oh, I'm not signing up. If I got to enter my credit card and give a guaranteed minimum, that's going to have kind of a chilling effect. So I want people to get exposed to it, and then down the road we'll be implementing minimums. Now there are a few artists on our site currently who do ask for minimums, and we just don't have a way through HomeDitty of enforcing that. So that artist is basically taking that host's word in their written communications that the host said, okay, I will give you a personal guarantee that we will hit X number.
And you have some hosts now that are just paying to show themselves.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a surprise, I suppose, no?
It was a big surprise. I really thought one of the big things that would really attract people to this was the notion that it was making live music affordable. That if you've ever, when Jay and I got married almost 20 years ago, we of course wanted a live band at our wedding, and was it $2,000? It was like $2,000, and again, this was 19 years ago. It was like, oh my gosh, $2,000, that's a lot of money. And so if any of you have had that experience where you've booked a band before and you're like, holy cow, that's really expensive. that as a result, most people in their lifetime are only going to book a band once or twice. I mean, it's going to be a really special occasion because you know it does cost a lot up front. But so I thought the crowdfunding, but crowdsourcing it with your friends was really going to be just the most popular aspect, which it is popular, but I'm surprised at the number of hosts who are just like, oh, I'll just pay for the band. I'm like, really? Okay, wow.
He had a second question on what happens with that, and save us the stories about what you do with the credit cards don't get done. But in a short version. So what happens if somebody's credit card doesn't work?
So remember
about my friends.
What? That is definitely, so when I first designed the software, I wanted to, or was designing, I guess, the business model in my head. What I really wanted was an escrow type service to sort of be able to suspend that money in time and have it held at the credit card level and then be paid out to the musician. And for a whole host of reasons, I couldn't get what I wanted. And so we had to go to this other option. And that happened at like the last minute, sort of a redesign. And that is the big flaw in using the two-step authorization, because when someone makes a reservation on their credit card, the system checks and stripes says, yep, that's a good card. And at that moment, it is a good card. 3 weeks later, it may not be a good card for a whole number of reasons. That person may have lost their credit card and have since reported it stolen. That person maybe used their debit card and now that balance isn't what it was. So it does happen. It is not ideal. I would like to come up with an ideal scenario for my credit card processing. I will say it has happened very few times, and the times that it has happened, all of the guests have been very, very good about, I'm so sorry, yes, I don't have that card anymore. And now we have an update in the software where the system will automatically send that guest a message and say, hey, we tried to charge that card, there was an error, here's a secured link to enter new payment information. And so far, that's not working.
Sheldon, you had a question back there.
What's the average amount that a band would get? I mean, so far from all your concerts.
I just did that math when I was working on the pitch, and it was over $700.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's just the crowdfund contribution. That doesn't take into account for the fact that during intermission, they're selling merchandise directly.
A lot of merchandise.
Directly to the guests. So it's kind of like a trunk show. I mean, there's so many things that are sort of like it out there, a trunk show, a jewelry party, a paint and wine party. It's kind of this conglomeration of things that already exist. But it's that it really is a direct sales model. That musician is selling that merch directly.
It makes so much sense because after you've listened to an hour set of somebody's music, you have a real sense of their music. It's not like, I heard 2 little clips on a YouTube video. You've got an hour's worth. And I know my wife has been buying them. She likes to have it in the car, and it reminds her of the concert. So it's an experience builder.
Yeah, I love it.
Just to follow up to the other question, at what moment does the money transfer to the band? Is it as the concert starts, as the concert ends, the next day, the day before? But at what second does it end?
Currently, we have it set the moment that I tell it to.
Full control.
That's good.
So, but I mean, let's say you have 10 concerts at the same time, you're doing something with the family, and you're not just sitting at the controls.
If at any point I want to change that, that can very easily be done. And that is certainly
But when are you hitting that button then? I mean,
I am, for the shows that are crowdsourced, I'm waiting until I know that show happened.
Finished or started?
Finished.
At least, if I know it's happening, sometimes I'll go ahead and settle it. But yeah.
Sometime in there.
Yeah, I know that, either I've gotten a text or, just because I might know the host. For the hosts that I don't know, I just want to make sure, because I don't want to deal with the refund situation. If the show was canceled, if the host's, parent died the night before and they had to cancel the show at the last minute, I don't want to deal on a customer service level, 30 to 50 people who are now emailing me saying, hey, where's my refund? I don't want to deal with that.
I have 6 questions. I'm going to start over here and work my way around.
Talking about things that could be scalable and aren't yet. How about onboarding a host? So I signed up while I was sitting here. So
thank you.
270.
And how long did it take you?
Host, he's fully paying attention and able to sign up. He does it all so well.
I'll be quiz later.
All right. So I assume there will be some level of onboarding. I saw a form I had to fill out. And maybe I don't hear from HomeDitty, but just curious what would be the onboarding process and what parts are not scalable today that we need to improve?
So right now, after you sign up, you get a welcome screen. Welcome to HomeDitty. Right now, I don't have it set where you get a welcome email message. So for right now, that's me. So I run every day, I pull up my users and I see what new users I have, and I have a form email, and I send it to you. So that is definitely something. Any sort of regular communication, like a monthly newsletter type thing, that's all just sort of happening as I get to it. So there are lots of opportunities there, but the foundation is there, and we're definitely looking to build upon that.
So, Katie, I heard you talk about this now a number of times.
Yes.
It always takes a while to sort of, penetrate.
Yes.
What I had always envisioned, and maybe your system will do this, is kind of like you have a person come to your house with a little mobile dog grooming thing, or a massage therapist. I had always envisioned that if I wanted to pay like a musician from Drake, a piano player from Drake, $100 to come to my house for an hour and play on my piano. Will your system do that?
Yeah. Okay. You just ask them for a flat fee.
Okay.
That would just be a flat fee arrangement.
Okay. And you can help me tap into someone locally to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a great pianist owner already.
Yeah. Well,
is there any barriers from an age perspective for just maybe some of the retirees to use your technology to either be a host or to show up? My wife is the admin for my Rotary, about 150 people now. We have everybody from millennials to retirees. She has trouble getting some of the retirees to even use e-bags, let alone, let alone put a credit card in and show up at home.
Right.
I mean, do some of the grandparents just go, can't I just show up and throw $20 and
Yeah. It hasn't been a huge issue, but that is definitely something I have thought of and I have run into. Definitely our hosts, not all hosts, but many hosts are sort of maybe in semi-retirement age or even just kind of 40 and above. We designed it in a very user-friendly way. I have had a little of that, maybe 2 or 3 instances, but it hasn't been a huge problem. Most people are at least getting used to purchasing something online with a credit card. It's a very simple checkout form from our credit card processor. But that is something to think about. One thing about why can't I just do cash at the door? One thing about musicians, I am trying to really change the way people see musicians and see this as a profession. When my plumber comes to the door, I don't hand him a 20 and call it good. I mean, most people don't get paid in cash. And I think for musicians who want to get paid in cash, that's fine. They can kind of do their thing. I'm looking to I want musicians to see what they're doing as a business. And I want HomeDitty to be a tool for them to grow their business. And that involves paying taxes and reporting income. So I know I'm probably ridiculous for trying to take that on, but I have found many musicians who want to be treated as a professional and who are professional and see this as a profession. So I think it actually does a disservice, me personally, to musicians to be like, here's a 20, we'll call it good. I mean, this is a job.
I hear how the band makes money. I think I see the benefits to the, of course, to the person having the concert for their friends.
Yeah.
How do you monetize this to make it a business?
Again, we get 10% of every show on the back end
10%.
as an app fee for the use of the software.
Have you thought about, say, just, a $50 advertising fee per month per band or anything like that just is next to nothing to them, but helps give it a little cash flow?
Oh, heck yes. A whole bunch of areas where I see tons of growth and value add potential. Right now it's a free service musicians. Those musicians who are champions and are really high frequent users of the site, perhaps they'd like to pay a little bit more or pay a monthly subscription fee to be considered a premium artist and maybe get top placement on search functions within our site, because there are various different search functions based on genre. So there are a whole host of additional streams of revenue coming down the road.
Good.
You mentioned you might have poured gasoline on the fire next spring. What all would that entail?
At this point, so we just met with a marketing team, and it probably is going to be, we're still looking at that, but what we're looking to do is, so our focus, even though we have hosts in a total of 26 states, I wasn't anticipating all of these random signups in other states, which is exciting and great, but my focus has really been in Iowa. So we're going to be looking to, when I say pour gasoline, starting to focus on getting that critical mass of hosts in our neighboring states. And specifically Minneapolis, Kansas City, Omaha, because it's just sort of a natural progression. Most likely it will be some social media buys, very targeted social media campaign.
All focused on hosts rather than artists?
Yeah, so, I get asked that a lot. Everyone's like, why aren't you focusing on hosts? Well, or why are you focusing so much on hosts and not on musicians? Well, again, it's kind of a chicken and egg type problem, for one. And for two, the musicians exist. The network of musicians are there. If what I need are hosts, what I need are people who stand up and say, yeah, I'll host live music in my home. I've got friends who will pay $20 for this really sort of VIP experience. So I'm trying to get that critical mass, because if I have that critical mass, the musicians will come. They will come because they need work.
Well, I think one of the things that I've learned from working with Katie about with this is you've got these musicians that may be doing a show in Chicago on Saturday night, and then they've got a show in Denver next Friday. So you don't want to necessarily have a bunch of hosts just spread all over the place. That if that musician could go on and say, okay, I can do a Sunday afternoon event in Rockford, Illinois, and then I can do Monday night in Des Moines, and Tuesday night in Omaha, Wednesday night. You can build a week trip. That's what kind of the Sunday goes do. You can build a trip to get you from Chicago to Denver that makes you a couple $1,000, maybe more, versus just hit the road or go and come back or whatever. So having those cities somewhat contiguous to each other as you roll out is going to have a benefit to the musicians, because they're going to be able to leverage that for an every night road show versus getting this.
And not all musicians are going to change the way they tour. Some are just always going to do that same model. It's the same way that, Green Day tours. Like, no matter what level musician you are, you're still going to tour that way, and I'm never going to change that. But there are definitely a really big group of musicians who I think are open to touring smarter, not harder. Why not, if it's an unknown market, why not go where you've got a guaranteed audience, or why not start something there? So like Sturdy Brothers, they live in Nashville. This is changing the way they tour. They're no longer going on these huge cross-country tours and hoping that maybe they'll get a crowd in an area who's never heard of them. So what they're doing now, they're coming to Iowa, because Iowa, we have our highest concentration of hosts, and we have, almost 200 hosts in Iowa alone. So they're just booking shows in Iowa, and they're coming to Iowa for, let's say, 2 weeks or a week, touring around Iowa, and then going back to Nashville. And they did that repeatedly over, a 7-month amount of time, and really started, just in Iowa, creating a buzz about this band. Then they book a show at the Gas Lamp. Then I sent an email to everyone that's hosted them and said, hey, guess what? The Cerny Brothers are coming to town. Every host that has hosted them at home now loves them, loves their music, and then ask those hosts, hey, let your guests know, everyone who came to your show, let them know that they're also going to be in town. So we go to the Gas Lamp, again, in a market where they couldn't fill a room before here, and we go to the Gas Lamp, and it's full. There were carloads of people that came, and they were all people that hosted this band in their house. So for those bands who are open to thinking about touring in a different way and really looking at it in a true business sense, I think it will really change the way bands tour.
Question over here. We have lots of questions.
Forgive all my multi-part questions. So not every band is easy to work with. Some are great to work with. You were talking about the survey at the end of the show. Is question number one, is that information available to potential hosts that these guys aren't jerks to work with? Or these guys are amazing to work with, and vice versa. These hosts are great, they fed us the most amazing dinner, or their room was terrible. Secondly, are there resources available to home hosts to help maximize that experience? Whether it is internally all the hosts being able to communicate, or just from you being able to provide that information to give them the most effective experience.
So, to part two of your question, right now I'm just providing that, especially for their first show. We've got someone who's on, it's either their 5th or 6th show, I can't remember. So repeat hosts, they've obviously kind of figured out, but at least for the first time hosts, I'm reaching out and saying, here are tips the day of the show, that, kind of walking them through that. Eventually, obviously I'd like to have it something more readily available on the site and take me out of it, but we're getting there. For
ratings.
Yeah, ratings. So initially, I had planned on doing a true sort of rating system, very sort of Uber, sort of like Uber or Airbnb or that type of thing. And that's initially what I was going for. And then I started to get really, gun shy about it, and for lack of a better word, because a host is hosting out of the goodness of their heart. And I felt like it would be a really crummy thing for a band to list something about a host. So really, when you think about it, what the real concern is, did something go wrong? And so that's where the post-show survey comes in, and they report it to HomeDitty customer service if something went wrong. And then we handle it like adults, and I talk to the parties involved and try to get to the bottom of what happened, what went wrong, and if someone needs to be banned from the site, then someone needs to be banned from the site. Each host and musician has a profile that they're accumulating information on. So, instead of doing that sort of rating system, Uber style, each host develops a history. And so if I'm an artist looking at a host profile, I can see every band this host has ever hosted in their home. And there's a little live link there that says contact this artist. And if I'm a band and I'm looking at this host and I'm thinking, I can click on that button and send a direct message to that past band and say, I see you played at the 5150 Music House. What were those hosts like? And they can have a private, honest discussion about whatever the concern might be. In addition, every time a host hosts through the site, we are aggregating their average attendance at each show. So if I'm a musician who really is at a level of my career where I really don't want to play for fewer than 40, 50 people, and if I look and I see their average attendance is maybe 15 or 20, I'm going to know that, okay, I need to either ask more per person or this isn't a fit. And then we also ask artists to report back their merch sales, their average, roughly, it doesn't have to be to the penny, again, not because we're just aggregating that data on the host profile. So you see the hosts, their average attendance at the show, and then their average March sale at the show. So the artist can make sort of an informed decision as to, is that going to be financially worth my time? And then the reverse is also true. Every artist is collecting, you can see any past posts, right? Every artist is collecting, and I'm like, yes. So if you're a host looking at an artist profile and say, oh, I see they've done 3 shows on HomeDitty, I'm going to reach out to, you can reach directly out to past hosts and say, what was your experience like? And then you can discuss whatever it is you might be concerned about. And then also in the post-show survey, hosts are asked to, if they want to give any positive tags to their artist about the performance, and it's only positive. Masterful musician, an engaging storyteller, humorous. And so a host can select any of those things or none, and then on an artist page, you can visually see how many times they get little pings, how many hosts have said they were masterful musicians, how many hosts said they were this. So there's sort of a rating system and sort of not.
I was going to ask about the rankings, but also you kind of mentioned that the one time people spend money on musicians through weddings. Does this work with weddings?
It does. We don't have a perfect way for doing that right now with that in our software. Right now what we're doing with the bands, because it has happened, again, they book it through the site, so we know that it's been booked to the site, and then they will often they can jump offline and sign a bigger contract, and the deposit's needed. We just kind of deal with it, but we will be automating that process down the road. And on the booking agreement, it will take you down different paths depending on what type of event you're booking. Are you booking a house concert? Are you booking, a wedding? Then that might take you down, and then so we're getting that.
Does, as it stands now, do you still get 10% if they book for a wedding, but it goes offline?
Yes.
Right. So you're accumulating all this data from popular and rising artists. Do you see a use of that to be a feeder system to America's Got Talent or a record label or anything? And is there a future there?
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah.
You discover the next Justin Bieber.
Right. I mean, you just never know. And then they're going to be up there getting the Grammy. I want to thank HomeDitty. They got me. But, and,
how do you get famous?
That's right. Well, and I was recently at the Lumineers played Wells Fargo Arena. Amazing show. Love the Lumineers. And sure enough, at the concert, he said, and you know what? It was only 2 short years ago we were playing in people's living rooms. And I was like, yeah. And then they said, and guess what? We really miss it. And so they walked out, and there was a raised, little tiny platform stage out in the middle of the audience. And they said, we really miss being sort of that connection with the audience. And so they played a lot of their show out on that little tiny stage. So we just never know.
Katie, thank you so much for coming out. We'll run out of time. Can you stick around for a few minutes?
Of course. I got business cards for everyone.
Thank you very much.